Hey folks, Dan here with Pain Free You. This kind of came up as a request by somebody. Why can pain be worse on weekends and holidays? All right. So I will get to that in a minute. Got to say, we had a touchy couple of days here. The web host that I use to, basically set up my websites and all that kind of stuff got hacked. And really, it was almost unrecoverable. So what we ended up doing is we set up a brand new account with a new host, and we just moved everything because we would have had to try to go in and figure out how the website files were edited and messed up and all sorts of bugs and hacky stuff in there. And with less than a week in front of the launch, the site was working, but we just didn't want to risk it. So we did this massive move. Took us like a solid 2 days to do the migration. So now we're going to scramble a little bit to get some book bonuses and resources ready for you for when the book launches. So back to the topic. Why can pain be worse on weekends and even holidays? So, one of the criteria that is sometimes utilized to determine if symptoms are a mind-body issue is to ask, does your pain or symptoms settle down while you're on vacation? Okay? And that is a common indicator that, hey, when you're less stressed out, less pressure, more relaxed, more engaged in the real world of I am going to have fun on this vacation, less attention placed on the symptoms, in some cases the symptoms can come down. So there are other cases where people have the opposite experience, and that's what I want to talk about, because this came from somebody who was a teacher, works in education. I don't know if they're a teacher. They said they worked in education, so they have the summers off. And it seems like for them and somebody else that they're associated with finds that their symptoms tend to flare up on the holidays when they're off in the summertime and not working at the schools. So it's an interesting question. It's like, well, I thought symptoms were supposed to settle down when you're on holiday and less stressed out. So sometimes I think what can happen is we have a bad experience on holiday, on vacation, even on the weekend, when we're saying there shouldn't be anything wrong with me. Well, a couple of things might be going on. When we're less engaged in the world, in our careers or jobs or families, whatever, well, not families, scratch that, but if we're less engaged in the world, we've got more time to think about our symptoms. In some cases, I know I've talked to a number of people where months before a holiday or vacation, they're worried about the symptoms messing up their trip. And for months, they're anxious about it. They're fearful. They're predicting the worst. Then they get on vacation. And in some cases, the symptoms are worse. And so, when we look at the high level, perceived danger creating symptoms, months worth of worrying whether or not the symptoms were going to ruin their holiday or vacation, or even weekend, days worth of worrying that, or even Friday, like, oh, I hope the symptoms don't ruin my weekend. It would be nice to get some things done or do some things. So sometimes, and I'm not blaming, trust me, I'm not blaming. I had a vacation where the symptoms were really rough. I went into the ocean on a trip to Cancun, and the waves were beating me up, and I was, it was really awful. And then trying to get into a beach chair was really a struggle to get in there and try to get comfortable, and then having to shift. And then later in that, week in Cancun, and this was a long time ago, I think my son was probably 9 or 10, so was that 21 years ago? Trying to go out to dinner. I could not get in the back seat of the cab. It hurt too much. And I've shared this before. But here's a case where my symptoms were a lot worse, or at least as bad on vacation as they were, at home, working, day-to-day stuff. And so in my case, I can pretty much say that the worry that the symptoms were going to mess up my trip was probably at play. And then when I got there and things were hurting, my response to those high symptoms on vacation likely either made them worse or at least kept them at a high level. And so, how we respond to symptoms. So for this person who works in education and has summers off, number one, do not predict a bad outcome for the summer. Yes, I know it's happened in the past, but don't predict a bad outcome. Don't predict that your summer's going to be ruined because you had a lot of symptoms. Because predictive coding, what the brain expects, it can create out of thin air. So if the brain expects to hurt because, I don't know, it hurt last summer, the brain can literally create that based on what? The expectation and the perception of danger surrounding that expectation. Now, the cool hint here is if the brain can create something out of thin air based on a negative expectation of pain, for example, wouldn't it be interesting to start playing around with the positive expectation of feeling good? Because if the brain can create the pain purely based on an expectation and the danger surrounding it, why couldn't the brain turn off symptoms based on a positive expectation of feeling good? Okay, play with that. Please play with that and comment back at some point and let me know how that goes, because I think that's relevant. But regarding the vacation or the holiday or the summers off, for this person, ask yourself, was there any negative expectation that the summer might be ruined by symptoms as it may have been in prior years? And then while the summer started and symptoms were there, what was the level of frustration, aggravation, despair? Here we go again. I knew it. Oh no. I don't know. Maybe this person responded extremely calm and reassuring. But my guess is that there may have been an expectation. Predictive coding, the brain can create that. And then disappointment when symptoms show up. And that's, that is normal. You're a human being if you get disappointed, especially when your symptoms start to get really high in the summertime when you're not working and you're supposed to be enjoying your summer. So, symptoms on vacation can go either ways. They can settle down if you are not too worried about the vacation, but more focused on, I'm going to have a good time with my friend, my partner, my family, whomever, or even by myself. I'm going to have a good time, engage in that, and that's more important. Symptoms can come along for the ride, but oftentimes when we engage in the trip, the holiday, the vacation, sometimes the symptoms come down because the brain says, Dan's having a good time on holiday, he must be okay. Safety up, perceived danger down, symptoms down. So that can sometimes happen, and that's a little bit more classic. But if your symptoms do the opposite, I'm here to also tell you that that's an indication of it being a mind-body condition created by a brain perceiving danger. But evaluate the thoughts leading into the holiday, on holiday, evaluate your response, and are you implementing many of the concepts that we teach here on a regular basis? And this kind of correlates a little bit to how people respond to a flare-up, an episode of increased pain. And so sometimes the brain can, not to our conscious awareness, or sometimes to our conscious awareness, perceive something as dangerous, and the symptoms can take a turn upwards. So here's the moment of choice. How, now that I've noticed the symptoms going up, how am I going to respond? Well, choices are panic, unbothered, and probably 50 shades of, variation in between. I didn't mean to quote 50 Shades of Grey. Almost did. Forgive me. So there's three options on how you respond. You're either going to panic and freak out, or you'll be completely unbothered, or more likely somewhere in between. And what I'm going to really encourage you to do is notice the ouch, oh no, it's going up, or I have symptoms on holiday. I'm going to respond as well as I can. So with clarity, I know what's going on. I know what causes symptoms, the brain perceiving danger. I'm going to shift my attention away from them. I am going to use accurate knowledge of what's going on and how symptoms start and what keeps them going. I'm going to use that accurate knowledge and the assessments that I've done to determine that, yes, this mind-body condition applies to me. And once you do that, you're going to move closer towards the unbothered and moving farther away from, the panic or freak out. And so, on vacation, you got symptoms. Relax. Shift your attention. Take them with you to the restaurant. Do whatever you got to do, but know that they will settle down and there's no reason to panic. And if your symptoms are just starting to go up for any reason, anywhere, at home, your daily routine, don't panic. Know what it is. So clarity and being as unbothered as possible and remaining calm, because again, symptoms will settle down when you do. I've never seen anybody freak out and get better. Like, nobody ever got better by freaking out. And so, anytime symptoms are going up, anytime they're showing up when you would really rather they not be, oh, come on, Dan, I've got tickets to go out to the movies or I'm going to go hang out with some friends at a restaurant, and my symptoms just flared up right beforehand. What was the level of worry that the symptoms might ruin things? What was the level of fear that I'm going to be on this dinner with some friends and I'm going to be writhing in pain, for example? Don't just say, my symptoms ruined it. Evaluate the thinking patterns before, during, and after. And how did you respond? Did you expect a negative outcome? Evaluate those things so that you can proactively switch the script and do it differently the next time you're going out for drinks or for dinner or going on a holiday, or it's a weekend, for example, or it's a summer break for people in education. Evaluate the past number of times when the symptoms were less than ideal, and then ask yourself, what was my internal dialogue like? Was it supportive of, I'm going to be fine no matter what the symptoms do? Or was it, OMG, I'm in trouble, right? So, I hope this makes sense. For the person who asked the question, it was a great one, and it got me to explore both sides of the holiday or time off equation. But one of the keys is when you've got less priority work to do, for example, like going to the office or doing a job or whatever, where you are engaged, when you are sitting home on weekends or perhaps on a summer holiday or you're even on a trip, oftentimes we've got a lot of extra time with not much going on to engage our brains, and our thinking and our overthinking and our rumination and our problem solving and our need to fix it by next Wednesday, that kind of takes over. And so there's a lot more time for us to actually worry and create further perceived danger, as opposed to either engaging in life to the point where the brain goes, Dan's got to be okay because he's engaged in life, or where was I going? All right, there's a brain fart for you. So engaged in life is one way of symptoms showing up less. But if you're out on vacation and you're stewing and brewing and worrying, don't predict the worst, folks. What if your trip or your weekend or your holiday goes wonderfully? Start with that expectation. And if you notice yourself saying, yeah, but I really worry that it's going to get ruined and I'm not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z on this trip, or during the summer, or on the weekend, or as I go out with friends, whatever. If you're expecting the worst, it's more likely to happen. I hate to say it. It's not your fault. I'm not saying that to scare you. So if you notice yourself saying, uh-oh, I'm nervous, I'm worrying about it, change the script. Ask yourself, but what if everything goes okay? Well, what if everything's okay, right? What if it turns out all right? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But worrying about it kind of leans you towards the bad experience more so than not worrying about it. At least be neutral. But ideally, hey, I expect this to go well. I'm going out with some friends. We're having dinner. It's a weekend. I get to relax and not have to, kill myself working on the job or doing whatever my daily responsibilities are. It's weekend. I'm going to get to enjoy it. I'm going to shift my attention to other things. Or it's a summer holiday, and I expect that it's going to be a great one because there's no reason for you to hurt every summer, especially when you know the cause is the brain perceiving danger and that you've done the assessments and that this is what's going on for you and you're capable of teaching the brain that you have no reason for the symptoms. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up here. I've been rambling on this for about 15 minutes. I appreciate you all. I love the support. It's crazy how many comments I'm getting regarding some of the book announcements. And even before we officially launched the Amazon Kindle pre-order, hit the Kindle new release bestseller for chronic pain and pain management. And so let's hit it hard on the 7th buy. And once you get the book and you've had a chance to read it, come on back to Amazon and do a review. If you're interested in checking out Amazon, again, if you do this before the 7th, you'll only see Kindle. After the 7th, paperback should be available. So, if you want a convenient way to go find it on Amazon, painfreeyoubook.com, and that should automatically forward you to the USA Amazon page. If you're somewhere else in the world, you may just have to go to your local amazon.co.uk, for example, for the UK. Go to your local Amazon and search Pain Free You in books, and you should be able to find it starting on the 7th. If not, let me know, and we'll scramble and figure out why it's not up on Amazon as scheduled. So, love you folks. Really appreciate you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow as usual. Take care.